Are all the red lights on? Every single last one?
All the red lights are on. Welcome back to the #1 financial literacy podcast in the world. I am Chris. That over there is Saied. We are Wild Stallions.
There you go. Welcome back to the show, everybody. We're missing somebody.
Yeah, Haroon actually is in the hospital with salmonella poisoning, apparently digging out trash cans for water bottles made from old Monster cans.
While also having a gout attack.
Is not advisable.
Yeah.
So
it's a fucked up situation.
And the irony is we're going to send him this to edit the show afterward so he can see us and hear us talking shit.
No, man. He's actually, so Haroon's up north visiting his in-laws for the week, and I will be taking over all of his responsibilities.
Which he's visiting Sack, as he affectionately calls it.
Sack Town.
He is in the Sack tonight.
Yes.
So, well, we're going to go old school where the two of us are here. Just imagine like we're back in the day in the garage where the weather would screw us routinely. Remember how hot it was in there?
And the Tesla would just turn on?
And it would just turn on randomly. I would sweat my ass off every single night. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm glad we don't do that anymore. Yeah.
This is a much better situation.
Not a good visual.
Although I want to update the chairs eventually.
I don't hate them. I don't hate them. I don't love the chairs.
I want a little swivel action.
Oh, okay.
You know, face you for a face off, come back to the camera.
Maybe like a little lower. As well, like a little
really?
lower. I feel like we get a lot of crotch.
What if we had like one of those like Afghan tea houses with just cushions on the floor and we set a vibe?
I would do that, but I'm a big ass dude and my hips don't function like they used to, bro.
I don't. Yeah, my 90-90 mobility is not there yet.
No. I'm pretty sure I got arthritis in my back. Like I was lifting weights today and I'm like, ooh, that feels weird.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not a pulled muscle. That's just me being old.
Yeah.
It's like shit. So that was
when you feel those, you're like, God, I'm so far away from where I need to be.
No, I'm not far away from where I need to be.
Yes, you are, bro. Your hip mobility takes a long time to correct, my friend.
Yeah, it's a sad state of affairs. The good news is that at least I'm still going to the gym. I guess could be a lot different.
Yeah, true.
Took a break off. Some guy was like, "How long is it? You took the while off, right?" How long? He's like, "How long was it?" I'm like, 2 years. And he looked at me just like, oh, that wasn't a break. You just got fat.
Yeah, what happened to you? Yeah.
So, and he basically did ask me what happened to me. He's like, you used to be shredded, bro. What happened? And I'm like, what? He goes, no. I used to see you all the time. So, like, there was no coming back for him or for me. I was like, yeah. I mean, I did. Yeah, I used to be good looking too.
Yeah, goddamn.
Nobody cares about the hair transplant at that point.
Nope.
All right. Well, tonight's show, we're going to do a little bit of recap. We're going to start off talking a little bit about some of the stuff that we talked about data-wise on episode 173, which drops for us tomorrow. By the time you hear this, it was on Tuesday. This one will drop on Friday. Mm-hmm. And the recap is important because we're going to build into a bit of a lead-up, if you will, into some interesting things that I think might be indicative of the impact on rates hiked to the economy and what this might mean for the consumer. Mm-hmm. Because there's obviously some really stressful things that could happen. We don't know what the catalyst for a recessionary economy would be, but we do know that things seem to be mounting from a data perspective. And then I started getting articles this weekend from people who were having insurance issues. And you and I both know, because the day jobs, insurance has become a real big problem.
Yeah, across the country. Not just for the commercial real estate space, too. Single family as well.
Single family as well. Most people who actually send me these articles are single family residents. It's like going like, hey, man, like, I can't get insurance on my place because of X and Y and Z.
Yeah, some of the data on this is alarming.
Yep, we'll get into that. And then we'll get into, I guess, quantifying how much this really means to the market and what that can look like. I also have some really interesting charts there which kind of explain it, and Haroon will have to pop those into the YouTube later on because I think there's a tremendous amount of value in seeing what these bar charts look like. They're effectively going damn near 45 degrees up every single year over year.
Right.
Which almost in some ways justifies the insurance industry a little bit. Like their costs are legitimately going up. Mm-hmm. And then I had like a really morbid thought in this whole process, and I'll just give it to you now before we get there. And feel free to opine here, but I feel like we are seeing more natural disasters.
Oh, they're happening more frequently?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like we're seeing more impactful hurricanes. We're seeing more impactful like heat, fire issues. Yeah. Now, not all of this is like the world is ending kind of stuff. But I'm just saying like we are seeing more.
It's happening more frequently too, so it's taking a toll on these insurance companies and I mean, how many disasters can they actually withstand? Right?
I mean, financially, I've always thought insurance is one of the greatest Ponzi schemes known to man.
Right.
It's like legalized extortion in some ways. Because you think about it, you have to have it in order to drive your car.
Yeah.
You have to have it in order to get a loan for your house.
Right. There's a famous Chris Rock bit. He's like, insurance is in case shit happens. Shouldn't I get my money back if it doesn't happen?
Yeah, exactly. I gave you money in case this shit happened.
Yeah.
It didn't fucking happen.
So give me some of that back.
You can keep the interest, motherfucker. Like give me back the
Yeah,
juice.
you
know?
made enough interest on this.
Yeah, like you carry balances for tens of millions of dollars, if not hundreds of millions of dollars, or billions of dollars.
Right.
Okay, you can make some pretty damn good interest off that.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you get to keep the premium?
Yeah.
You insured for my risk if you incurred no loss.
Right. Right.
This is the fucked up part about this. There's so many businesses that are like this.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you had some articles you want to talk about. They're all unemployment payroll related here. Is there anything else that I missed?
Yeah, I have some stuff in there for insurance as well, and I'll find a way to weave it into the articles you have.
Okay. Well, then, in order to cap the show, I thought, you know what? Hey, we're being really fucking negative lately.
Oh, okay.
Let's not be negative, which is outside of our character.
I mean,
Not exactly positive people.
It's hard to be.
Someone told me I can't listen to your show anymore, Chris, and I'm like, why, Saied? And they go, no. You guys are just so negative.
So we need to sprinkle in a little positivity.
Yeah. So I said, okay, I hear you.
Okay.
We're gonna drop this article on you, talking about how to get happy. Americans say these 3 things define wealth. Okay. None of them require actually making money. Just for the record.
Yeah.
So even though there is a greater likelihood of you making less money over the course of the next couple of years, or if maybe it's a great investment opportunity, you're going to make a ton of money in the next couple of years if you want to be the rosy optimistic type.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, we can talk about how to make you happy.
Right.
So,
And we're going to do so.
that's turning your frown upside down.
Right. Because your health is your wealth. Brought to you by Transcend.
Yeah. Hormone replacement therapy for the masses.
No, this is not a paid ad. Don't get it confused.
It is if you're hooking me up with more free product. Just don't use Larry's discount code. We put that in the show notes for previous episodes. No Larry Wheels discount code for Transcend. Not for him, yeah. All right. Well, to kick it off, let's go down memory lane, shall we?
Let's do it.
This from CNN Business. New Commerce Department data released Thursday showed that consumer spending jumped 0.8% last month as shoppers shelled out for restaurants, live shows, toys, games, and recreational equipment. Which, that just had all sorts of thoughts just going
What
in my
kind of
head.
recreational equipment are we talking about here?
Recreational equipment.
Yeah. I need some examples there.
I got lots of recreational equipment in my house, baby.
Yeah.
In any event, it's the strongest monthly spending gain since January. However, underlying data indicates this type of activity may be on borrowed time.
Mm-hmm.
And if you listen to the show at any length of time, you know that we think it is, in fact, on borrowed time. The Personal Income and Outlays Report for July also showed that the Federal Reserve's preferred inflation gauge, PCE, core inflation, remained high, but grew at a monthly rate that's more in line with the central bank's 2% target. The Personal Consumption Expenditures Index, PCE, showed that prices increased 0.2% on a monthly basis and 3.3% annually. You like how I sauced up the annually at the end?
Yeah.
Annually. When stripping out the more volatile energy and food prices, the core PCE indices show prices increased at 0.2% from the month before and 4.2% for the 12 months ending in July. So that's your recap, effectively what we talked about in the last episode, right? Well, so that should set the tone. Core inflation seems to be in line with the growth that you would need to have at 2%.
Mm-hmm.
Still higher than the Fed wants it to be.
Still double what the Fed wants it to be. The troubling thing there that I don't think it's spoken about enough. If you remember when this whole inflation battle really, became in headline news everywhere, CPI was at 9.1% and PCE was, relatively lower, right?
Yeah.
And that's because they report things differently. The Fed's preferred measure, PCE, the Personal Consumption Expenditures Indices, right? That really, they prefer that more because they change out the basket of goods that they look at more frequently than CPI does. And in addition to that, housing doesn't play as big of a component in there. And CPI makes up about 34%. in PCE, it really only makes up about approximately 18%.
You know what? I just thought of something. Let's break this down in a really simple way for most people who hear the words inflation, core inflation, PCE a lot.
Okay.
And it can get confusing because the numbers seem to be a little bit weird.
Yes.
You'll hear month-over-month reporting a lot. It increased or decreased from the previous month. That is not necessarily the metric that the Fed is looking at. They're looking at an annual number, right? Year over year, which you heard me say earlier, quoting the article, 4.2%.
Core, right?
Core inflation, PCE, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, Chris, what does that mean? That means that these month-over-month inflation figures are taken over the course of 12 months. So if, let's say, from July to July, it was 4.2%, but let's say July had a big print the year before and August had a lower print, that means inflation is likely to go down unless we have a spike up in the number for the month-over-month figure.
So you can kind of see where this is going ahead of time, which is why you'll hear some, negative Fed speak if they come out, because they already kind of know where it's going to go.
Because critics of inflation will say, okay, well, inflation last year in July was really high. It had a 4 handle or a 5 handle, and that's going to drop off, and the next month had a 3 handle instead of a 4 handle.
Right.
And they know that average figure over time is likely to come down because this heavy inflation month on the tail end of the 12 months might be falling off.
Right.
So it's a really good way for you to get a feel for where economists are pulling the data from.
Right.
Is they're just looking at the year-over-year figure and then breaking it down month-over-month to see what those averages would look like when the new print comes out.
Right. And why this matters to everyone, right? I mean, everything costs more when the Fed funds rate is where it is. And we need to hurry up and get down to our target range so the Fed can eventually pivot from this current rate hiking cycle to their holding cycle to then ultimately, approximately anywhere between 5 to 14 months later, then they'll eventually start cutting again. So what the Fed wants to see is that this inflation rate that we're talking about is on a downward trend, a linear line down, going down at a cadence fast enough to where they can get off the brakes. They have said that we will pivot from our current position if we see it going down. It doesn't need to hit 2% in order for us to back off. We just need to see that it's going to get there. And when you have prints that actually go in the other direction, it deviates from that linear path down.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's going to be, I think, a consistent theme over the course of the next couple of months as the market really comes to realization. Although I will argue, and it's something we haven't argued about on the show a lot, but I started to think with GDP being print at like a 5.8 number, right?
Yes.
Was it 5.8? Was it
5.8 was the estimate like a week ago.
Yeah,
I haven't checked this week.
All right, so let's say GDP prints over 5.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a pretty healthy growth number. And then I'm like, wait a minute. How much money are we spending in the economy on things like releasing oil reserves, funding the Ukrainian war?
Right.
That all adds to GDP. There's so many tertiary things that are going on. I bet you real GDP is a lot lower, and it could have maybe at least suggested the Fed pause earlier.
Right. But we know consumer spending makes up of 70%.
It does, but I would say that there's a lot of other money being spent.
Absolutely.
In addition to that, I don't know that things are as bad, but what I would say is if you're the president right now, okay, or in this case, whoever's really controlling him, right?
Yeah.
And that's not a knock on his political status. It's just he seems a little Mitch McConnell-y lately. You know what I mean?
By the way, we've been doing the show now for like a year and a half. At least I've been on it for a year and a half. You've done it for 2 years.
It's been
right?
2 years, yeah.
99 Problems and Mitch Ain't One is probably the best headline of all time. That's got to be the best title of the show we had.
Which will be the episode coming out tomorrow morning. And as much as I'd like to credit for it, I didn't even realize it was a thing until Saied caught me on it.
Right.
I was like, oh, shit, Mitch. Yeah, no, it's the age of some of these politicians are so bad. We talked about it a little bit in the last show, but I went back and we done the rabbit hole of how old these are. The average age in Congress is old,
right.
Man. The average age in the Senate's even worse.
Shouldn't be representative.
There's nothing for them to relate to.
They make it really tough to like bite your tongue.
Yeah. And yet Pelosi's insider trading all day long. Who knew?
Yeah.
All right. According to Reuters, Full impact of Fed hikes still to be seen in real economy, ex-Vice Chair Blinder says.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Blinder is not a strong name.
I mean, I see where you're going.
Like Blinder, Blunder, Blender,
Yeah.
Blender.
When I first read it, I thought it was a typo. I'm just being honest.
Blender?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like a blunder?
You're right.
There's a lot you can play with here.
Exactly.
It's just, yeah. Quoting from the article, I think there's a lot more to be seen. Alan Blinder, Fed vice chairman between 1994 and 1996, told Reuters Global Markets Forum. God, that sounds like a badass forum. I'm part of Reuters Global Markets Forum.
You imagine putting that on your resume?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although the IMF sounds cool as shit until you realize what they do.
Yeah.
International Monetary Fund.
All the funds.
All the funds. Internationally known. Yeah. Boats and hoes.
Internationally known all around the world. Let's go.
Yeah, and then you realize they suck. So yeah, there's a lot of shit talking going on there. Quoting again from the article, we're talking about historically average lags from monetary policy. And that's a really important sentence. So I'm going to read it again. We're talking about historically average lags from monetary policy to inflation of 2 to 3 years. So against that, if it's 3 months or 4 months faster, that's not a big deal, and suggests that there's still plenty to come, Blinder added. I'll go on and then I'll explain what he's really talking about here. Blinder, love saying his name.
No, you don't.
I do. It's the best. Blinder. Sounds like a chubby friend.
Blinder?
Yeah.
Sounds like
Or like a Seinfeld character.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Blinder also said core inflation tends to react to monetary policy action at a slower pace than headline inflation, which we've seen.
Which makes complete sense.
And that, coupled with the transmission lags, means that the Fed should consider pausing rates for some time from here.
Something that we've routinely said on the show. And why there are significant lags to core inflation, because we know at least for the last CPI print, housing reflected 90% of that increase.
Yeah, that was wild.
And it takes time for rent and rent equivalent to come in and eventually for this number to come down. And to make matters worse, we cited on the last article that consumers are still out there spending. Home Depot came out last week and they said, big ticket transactions above $1,000 were down 5.5%.
I was in Home Depot today.
Yeah.
Returning some microwave light bulbs. You know, light bulb underneath your microwave?
Yeah.
Ours went out, got the wrong one. It's the whole thing.
Uh-huh.
So we go to return it, right? There was fucking nobody in Home Depot. I haven't seen Home Depot that empty. In the middle of the day on a holiday Monday?
Right.
Normally packed.
Yeah.
Jam-packed. Nobody was in there.
Scary, man.
Yeah, nobody. There was me and some Chinese lady.
So people are out there, big ticket items over $1,000. It kind of goes to an article we talked about on previous episodes where people aren't out there now just remodeling their homes for stuff that, and now they're only fixing things that they need fixed, right? Like we talked about, I think roofing was a big one, something that you can't skip out on that
unless they own an Airbnb that you visited.
Yeah, we'll have to get into that. So this past weekend we went to Palm Springs. We stayed at one of those like Coachella houses, right?
I want you to know. You describe it like that's a good thing.
Well, it was beautiful. The home was gorgeous.
Yeah, but the name of it, Coachella houses says it all.
Yeah.
You know that home has been used and abused.
What happened inside this home? Right, exactly. But a lot of things broke down inside this Airbnb, and luckily for us, the wives literally, they all got together and they made the trip still amazing. Nobody complained. Everyone was still on board. The kids, we looked around, the kids were still having a good time, so why should we complain?
So how much? So refrigerator went out?
Refrigerator went out, right? Let's see what air conditioning for half the house went out. And mind you, this all got fixed while we were there, but who wants people working on the Airbnb like while you're there, right?
Yeah.
The pool filter went out. Like, wait, we went there to go swimming in the pool. What happened?
How many days of swimming did you get in?
1.
How many days are you there?
3.5.
Oof.
Yeah. There was also a flood watch, right? So there was leaks in the house. I mean, all kinds of problems.
Was it raining while you were there?
As we got there, yeah. There was a wild storm. And I had to have thought, like, remember that hurricane that hit? And it hit that county pretty hard? Had to have had some impacts on the home.
Oh, for sure it did.
Right. Yeah. But luckily, like when the fridge went out, we decided to just cook all the food right? And we had coolers and we iced it all, and everyone just got on board. It was like we all started working together, so it actually worked out okay. It was a nice like story. We can all laugh about it later. But
You know who's laughing about it right now? The guy you paid and didn't give you a refund.
we're still on a mission to get that. Don't worry.
And how much of a refund do you expect to get?
Hawa's on top of it, so I'm AKA my wife. So I think she's gonna do pretty good. She's got a good batting record when it comes to these kind of things.
How much does she want? What does she want? What's her 3 days you were there, right? 3 nights?
Yeah.
How much do you want? What's the number to make you whole?
Bro. At least
half.
At least half.
He's gonna be like, bro, you stayed 3 days.
What's gonna happen ultimately? Airbnb is just gonna give us a credit. That's what's gonna. We're not gonna get any money back. I already know. But giving us a credit, I mean, it's not like that's the last Airbnb we're ever gonna go to.
But should it be?
No. If I go to 10 Airbnbs and 9 of them were great and this is the only bad one, I'm not gonna let that ruin everything.
And what if these Airbnb arbitrage guru course sellers are taking on more and more properties, and more Airbnb properties are underperforming?
Well, a lot of the ones that we stay at tend to have significantly good reviews. So.
But the one you stayed at this weekend, didn't that have good reviews?
It did have good reviews, and it seemed like we just got the short end of the stick on this one. Everything decided to go out at once. So I'm gonna roll the dice again, definitely, and we're gonna go again because it just makes more sense. The kids have way more fun this way, and the adults can have fun at the end of the night when the kids go down. Otherwise, you stay at a hotel room, everyone put the kids down in your room. You can't leave your hotel room.
No, I get it. Did you leave the house at all?
No.
All weekend long, you stayed there?
No, that was the whole point of getting a nice big house. The house it had everything, man. It had a little putting green. It had this like soccer pool table in the backyard for like soccer balls, but they made it like into like a pool table. What else did it have? It had cornhole. It had obviously the pool, the spa that we couldn't get to use, but we should have been able to use. All kinds of stuff. They had a pool table inside the house. Yeah, they had a PS5. We brought our Nintendo Switches. It was supposed to be like a weekend for the kids.
How much alcohol did you drink?
Too much. Oh my god.
Really?
Do I look puffy?
Yeah, you look puffy. I didn't want to be that guy, but yeah.
I drank so much alcohol, but every night I woke up no hangover. You know why? I've never been a tequila drinker, and I don't know if it's the tequila that makes me wake up and not have a hangover, but
it's probably the shrooms.
I did not have any shrooms. Just because we stayed in a Coachella house.
All those recreational drugs you're taking. Did you chop them up and snort them, or how'd you do it?
No, man, but I got a crash course on that stuff, and man, some people, they can handle some serious dosages.
So I'm going to tell you right now, this is not a shrooms transition, just for the record. I'm going to tell you right now, I've gotten to the point where, and I like drinking, don't get me wrong. I just don't sleep well when I do it.
Really?
My sleep is fucked when I drink.
Man, I slept like a baby.
It has to be
like a baby.
Really?
I slept so well, and I got to sleep next to Adam all weekend, so that was fun. Because the way the rooms were situated, they had a few rooms with just king size beds, and we're like, we can't sleep 4 in a king size bed. It's Adam and Arya have gotten too big now, so we need 2 beds. So we had to take a room that had 2 queens.
Oh.
Yeah. So I got to sleep next to Adam all weekend, so that was good. Because I feel like that's gonna come to an end pretty soon. He's getting older.
Maybe.
He's getting older.
I put Carter to bed and I was sleeping in his bed with him before I came here.
Yeah.
It's twin, though.
Yeah.
I don't have the width that you do.
Was that a fat joke?
No.
Yes.
No, that's a booty joke.
That's a booty joke. So
I'm barely fitting in the damn bed. It's crazy.
Back to real quick to consumer spending is something that I wanted to touch on that I think everybody knows about, but it's not talked about enough, and spending habits are extremely hard to break, which is why I think, you see these reports of consumer spending still being up, month over month, right? Advertising and marketing plays a huge role in this, and people don't understand that it's how much of it just becomes part of their daily routine, right?
I'm gonna get very personal on this one, and this will be interesting. This year, I've given up on my salary from my W-2 day job.
Yes.
$510,000 in what would otherwise be normalized salary that I would take home.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably lost that much, if not more. I've lost more than that in stock value because of the way the stock price is traded down.
Yeah.
And So it's like $1 million negative, right, for the year. And I don't normally sell stock unless I'm paying taxes, but this year taxes in October. So, but I will say this is the first time I can remember in my adult life where I've had to sit down and think about spending again.
Right. And that was actually something that I was going to bring up on the show, because for someone like you in your position to now get to this point, right, where you have to, okay, no, I have to sit down and actively think about the things that we're spending money on when this is not something you've had to do for quite some time.
I've always had enough excess cash flow coming in to where it didn't matter what we spent.
Right.
At the end of the month, like everything could be pushed to the side.
Yes.
So it's not that we're, I mean, I'm not complaining. We're not hurting. I'm not doing that.
No.
I'm not. What I'm saying is it got to the point where we didn't have to be thoughtful about the money because there was always enough to invest and put away.
Right.
And now I know that there isn't like a big bonus coming at the end of the year. I know that there's not the excess cash flow coming in every single month. I mean, it's a pretty big difference, number wise.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at what my wife and I spend, and we have a very humble life. $1,700 a month for a mortgage payment. Many of our peers are literally paying 10 times that.
Mm-hmm.
All the homes that we have rented out and all the property we have rented out, it all cash flows positive, right? Again, not complaining, but at the end of the day, I know how different it is for us, and I have to think like the average consumer has to be feeling at least that, right?
They feel it, and what I'm afraid of, and I think I know it has to be true. I know I've talked to enough, family, enough friends to know that there's a lack of motivation there for some people, a fear of changing, having to give up the small little wins that they feel.
I don't think most people cognitively think about it at all.
No, or they're intentionally choosing to ignore it because they know.
Yeah.
They know. I mean, we referenced an article. This article will forever stay with me. That there was a certain percentage of people out there just choosing to ignore their bank statements or their credit card statements.
Oh yeah,
remember that one?
Yeah.
And that was so.
They didn't want to log into their account
because they're afraid to even see it.
Yeah.
Right. And that has to go with. There's a lack of motivation there, a fear. They don't want to give up the little wins that they've experienced throughout the day, whether that's, everyone and their mamas out there talking about give up your, $5 Starbucks drink so that you can save X amount of dollars. But like,
I hate that fucking philosophy so goddamn much.
I know.
Like the little small idiosyncrasies in life that give you joy. Like you shouldn't have to sacrifice those.
Right. You should be able
But
to.
don't go buy stupid shit.
Exactly.
I mean, it's a simple trade-off, right?
Right.
Have your coffee. Don't buy dumb shit.
Right. And be more aware of, what's being advertised and marketed to you. So the long-running joke on the show is Saied didn't have social media for a long time, and look, now he has it now.
Because you got in trouble for the usage of it.
Because I got in trouble. No, I didn't.
I mean, all those sites you were visiting.
Oh, yeah, right, all of them.
Yeah.
But a big part of that had to do, eventually when my wife and I first started, was, okay, we don't want this because we don't want the drama. But as, the years went by and you heard the amount of money being dumped in to get you addicted, right? And once you get addicted to that, there are companies out there advertising, trying to get you addicted, right? And they know the algorithms. The algorithms are there for a reason.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, look at just fast food chains. All the additives they throw in there to make their products more addictive, right? You look at tobacco. You look at social media platforms. What makes you think it's not in everything that you do?
A great book on that topic is Salt, Sugar, Fat.
Okay.
I read that book. It fucking blew me away. I had just gotten really into Mind Pump, and I started listening to the guys and started to kind of figure out that maybe the way I was brought up eating wasn't right.
Right.
And then somebody who was really into fitness casually mentioned the book to me. Didn't think anything of it. I went to a bookstore, and I just happened to see it. White book with salt, sugar, fat in the front. It's hard to miss.
I think I've seen this before, right?
And I bought it on a whim.
Mm-hmm.
I read the whole thing almost cover to cover in 2 days. Fucking blew me away, the things that this country did in the name of money.
Mm-hmm.
And it started with a lot of what the tobacco companies did, and they deployed that same logic into food.
I mean, it makes sense. Why wouldn't you, right? Find a way for it to work for you. I remember spreading the financial statements of like business financials for the first time as a credit analyst, at the bank. and seeing a line item for research and development and seeing the amount of money, the amount that expense took up of their expenses.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, like, yeah, why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they research and find out what it is exactly to grow our product even more? And if that means preying on everything that you're either insecure about or stuff that they can trick your mind into reducing more dopamine, right? Well,
you want to hear a fucked up philosophy that I've developed over the last couple of years that I don't openly share normally?
Okay.
There is nothing truly fucking novel anymore. Okay? We see all these people on social media and the internet and television like going, oh, that person's, it's puffery, it's a scam, or it's bullshit. That's the only way to get big now is if you don't lie and like blow things up. What are you really going to provide somebody they can't get somewhere else for free now?
How are you going to get in front of their eyes or into their ears, right?
So you got to be some over-the-top, big fucking figure who's extreme, because that's the only way you're going to get eyes on you. And then product-wise, there's very, very few products that are truly fucking unique anymore. I mean, I don't mean to be an asshole, but other than like Ozempic, name something truly unique that has happened chemically in the last, I don't know, 15, 20 years. There hasn't been a lot there. We're not looking to change the way we eat, which, by the way, is the real fundamental fucking problem.
Dude, this isn't just in the products and the things that we consume. This is in your politics.
Yeah.
Everyone wants the extreme right or the extreme left. Nobody. When 80% of us are right in the middle.
You're not. If you are unique, and if you are novel, you don't get elected. Even Trump, love him or hate him for what he is, okay? And don't have an opinion really one way or the other, frankly. I think the whole political situation in this country is fucked. That's my political opinion. But that being said, he wasn't a Republican. He just chose that because he wanted to win.
Yeah.
And it's just there's so much access to information and so little privacy now that it's just all out there. And when it comes to food, it comes to life, it comes to choices, it comes to money. There's very few things that are truly novel anymore. But everybody wants to sell you something that sounds novel.
Yeah.
And that's what everybody wants to buy, too.
It's true. It's true. And the impacts to this and to the consumer, I feel like it's going to be damaging for years and years to come, right? Because they were sold this idea that, there was still going to be second half of the year growth. So maybe they were kind of banking on that. They were talking about 2 or 3 rate cuts by the end of the year. Didn't get that, right? Now at least we're at a point now where I think it's over a 90% chance that the Fed won't raise rates in September, right? It's 93%. And 70% chance that they won't raise rates again for the rest of the year.
Yeah, and that's probably about right.
Probably right. And hopefully that's right, okay?
The data seems to be going that way.
Right, and that jobs report that came out.
The jolts
and
the unemployment numbers.
And the August jobs report, right? The non-farm payrolls.
Yeah.
When that came out, that's going to be something that can really help the Fed lean that way if that's what they truly want. Because we know, you and I know, we've gone through it enough on the show. The listeners know this shit's predetermined.
A little bit, yeah.
So if that's what they decide to go with, so here's some of the numbers on the jobs report that came out. 187,000 jobs added for the month of August. It beat expectations of 170,000. But the good thing here, for the Fed's sake, unemployment went up from 3.5 to 3.8%. They had revised their projections earlier this year to 4.1% unemployment by the end of the year. So we're getting there. We're getting to their projection point, meaning that's probably headed in the right direction for them.
Also, fun fact, unemployment typically peaks after the end of a declared recession.
Yeah. So
seeing it go that direction does not mean that we are safe or out of the woodwork as far as unemployment numbers go.
Right. And if you believe all the, things that we've referenced on the show that's sounding the alarms, like the inverted yield curve and everything else, that a recession is looming, right? Then this number is unfortunately going to continue to go up. And this is what makes the Fed's job so difficult, because that's a fact that they know, that unemployment peaks after a recession has been declared, and one of their main job function is to provide maximum employment.
Can you can you imagine being one of the? Listen, I make a lot of jokes. I poke a lot of fun at Chairman Powell. I fuck around with Neil Kashkari a lot.
Yeah.
Waller, all of them. I make jokes. I'm an asshole. That's what I do.
You called Messer a male.
I mean, it does sound like a very aggressive male-dominant last name, right?
I did.
Mrs. Mester.
Yeah,
Mr. Mester.
That sounds about right.
That sounds authoritative.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, it's just she should.
She could be
Mesterous.
but she could be authoritative too.
She's very mysterious.
Miss.
Anyway, yeah. I'm not a huge fan of a lot of what the Fed's done from a communication standpoint.
Right.
Okay. I don't know why, and maybe one day they'll explain why they took the unusual bell curve tact of 25 basis points, 25 basis points, 50 basis points, 75, 75, 75, 50, 25. It's unusual. Instead of just going 25 basis points, 50 basis points, or even 75 basis points consistently.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if they would just explained it, I'd be probably a happier camper today.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't do any of that. They didn't tell us. They just did these things and then tried to give us one meeting or one Fed interest rate increase notice ahead of it. Oh, expect this, market. Whoa, expect this.
So don't freak out. Exactly.
Yeah, maybe when we hear the logic one day, we'll feel better about it. But can you imagine? They are literally doing things they know will ultimately bring home values down, bring interest rates back up, bring unemployment back up, bring wages back down. And that's if they do it right.
Right.
If they do it a little bit too right, all those things go into extremes. And they've already said, we would rather overcorrect than undercorrect. Overcook, undercook.
Right.
Right?
Right.
They would rather overcorrect than undercorrect. Can you imagine? It's almost like you are designing your wife's hatred of you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You already know that they're going to hate you for all of this.
I know she's going to hate all of this
Yeah.
in 10 years, but I'm going to deal with that shit when I get there.
It's true. That's good.
It's a really messed up position for them to be in. So it's almost like if they do a shitty job, but everybody's happy, they didn't do their job right, but everybody's happy. They do their job right, and everybody hates them.
And people are going to have to pay the price way later if they don't do their job right.
Unfortunately,
that is what it is, right? Because you can't have inflation at these levels. I guess for some people out there in the economy, to them, they can live with this. They can continue going at whatever pace they're going, so long as if the wages that they're getting continue to go up, right?
I would argue they can't. I would argue that the lack of affordability in the home market is the long-term implications of what we're seeing here.
Right.
And I don't think the consumer can live with it because, and people forget, you might own a home right now, you might have a ton of equity.
Mm-hmm.
Where the fuck are you going to buy right now?
Yeah.
Let's say you had to sell your home or you wanted to sell your home. Let's say you want to upgrade. You're going to double your rate in a more expensive home? Like, how much your payment's going to?
It's true.
The math just doesn't work out here.
And we're going to get into the affordability issue when we get to the insurance articles here, because
that's next up for me. Yeah.
That's next up. But the last thing that I want to bring home with this jobs report, there's a guy over at the Wall Street Journal. His name is Dion Rubin. Awesome guy. He's got his own YouTube page too. I highly recommend everybody go over there and checking him out. Okay. He did some research that I thought was pretty insightful here. And goes back to everything that we believe in, why we do not like this jobs report. Okay? This year, dating back, he only went as far back as 1980. He said, he stopped there. I'm not going back. This is the first year where every month this year they revised it downwards.
Every fucking month. I'm telling you, it's political conspiracy bullshit.
Since 1980, this has never happened, and let me take it back. He said
Seeking Alpha did a great fucking article.
I'll say for a full year, I should say. Yeah. So if this continues for the full year, so basically what he was saying is
he revised it down twice every month.
Twice exactly. So for the report that came out in July, it was revised down to 157,000. Right, that was revised down. 30,000 jobs were removed. In June, down 100,000. In May, down 58,000.
These are big fucking swings, man.
Big swings when you're talking about, look, for August, they said they added 187,000 jobs. Imagine swinging it down 100,000. It's like, it paints a completely different picture of the economy. Why would they do this?
Well, because if you're president and you're sitting and you want to get reelected and you're a Democrat thinking, shit, our president isn't the best looking dude on the stage right about now.
Bidenomics, baby.
Yeah, Bidenomics. Vice president might be dead. Haven't seen her forever.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I have no idea if Kamala Harris is even human at this point. He's like, what's going on with her? Where's she at? I mean, why is she so unable to get in front of a camera to replace him in certain circumstances? I don't know. Whatever the case may be, fine. Okay? You're a Democrat. Keep that GDP up. Keep funding that Ukrainian war. keep dumping the U.S. oil reserves.
Right.
Keep selling it off, baby.
Right. So
keep the GDP up.
So I wanted to ask you, given the fact that we now know this, every single month this year, this report has been revised downwards. Is this a good thing or a bad thing?
What do you mean?
What is it? So I was thinking like, okay, this is a good thing for the Fed to see, right? This is something that the Fed will want to see.
If they fucking acknowledge it, man. I'll put it this way. Can you name one time you've seen anywhere, in the internet, social media, television, I don't care where, anywhere where anyone's openly talked about the revision down other than articles like this that call it out for being bullshit?
I think occasionally I was first brought onto it. I think I saw somebody on Yahoo Finance talk about it, but it was so like under the rug, like just brushed it off and just on to the next topic. And I said, hold on, go back. I want to hear more about this. And but here's who it's bad news for: the businesses out there that are operating off this data, that the economy is still strong and they're holding on by a thread, dude.
Yeah.
Right, praying that this shit turns around. And okay, oh good dad, okay, the economy's still thriving. You know, and they're being spewed by all these talking heads, all this information of it's going to be okay. End of the year still going to be okay. Next year, they're going to be rate cuts. And you're like, come on, man.
I'll tell you right now, it changed my perspective dramatically during the March 9th, March 10th banking contagion run, that whole thing, the deposit run. I was looking at some of these talking heads and listening to and I'm a banker. I don't know. I'm not an economist, okay? I admittedly am not. There's a lot of things I'm still learning as we go
we joke
along.
about it on the show all the time. We're all still learning here.
I'm a moron. I know that. There's a lot of things I don't know. I'm not the world's greatest attorney. There's some stuff that like people will say shit to me and I'll be like, that sounds good.
That's about right.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds legal.
That's some legalese.
Yeah. Why don't you talk to a real attorney? Like, I'm not the world's best, but I know, the basics.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the banking stuff, I'm pretty tight.
Yeah.
Right? Like
I'm pretty tight.
I'm pretty tight.
That's good. But also, we'll say this without throwing too much shade at us. I'm confident in saying that we don't talk about shit unless we feel like it's fact and it's true and we know it.
We read about it.
No, we read about it, we study it, we make sure we go over. So we're not saying that we're morons and just spewing you like.
Yeah, I can openly tell you there's areas that I know that I could improve. The accounting side, for example, and you heard me talk about it on previous shows, I could definitely get a lot better with my accounting skills.
Right, understanding the loopholes.
Yeah, not even that, just understanding like basic GL maintenance sometimes. I'm just like, I have to like Google shit.
Yeah, it's fine.
But anyway, when I heard the talking heads on television, on social media, and everybody talking about the banking sector, and to see how fucking clueless they were, it struck a chord with me that'll forever change the way I think about people on these shows. They don't know what they're talking about in a lot of circumstances. And I'm sure they have some subject matter expertise, but a lot of the time, look at Jim Cramer. That fucking guy has been wrong. True story. The Jim Cramer Fund.
Inverse.
No. There's a Jim Cramer Fund which invests in the things he says, not the inverse Cramer Fund.
Okay, no, there's both.
A regular Jim Cramer Fund.
Right.
Has shut down because it fucking sucks.
But the inverse Cramer Fund is thriving.
Going to the moon, baby.
Let's go, baby.
Inverse Cramer to the moon. And this is a guy who's got a television show, who's got decades in the space. And he's completely full of shit. This is the same guy who called Sam Bankman-Fried the fucking Wonder Boy.
He did.
He's so impressive. He's so impressive. Now, back in prison for witness tampering.
God damn.
And there's a whole thing I didn't even get into about how he bought a bank. Sam Bankman-Fried actually bought a bank without getting the Fed's approval.
Farmington Bank something?
Yeah, some random small bank.
Shit.
Yeah, he's like, I'm going to buy this shit. Fuck it.
Yeah.
And then how much time did he get?
That was crazy. When I saw this, I could not believe it. He got an hour with JP.
An hour with Jerome Powell.
A sit-down meeting.
Most people barely get 15 minutes. This little shit, witness tampering asshole, gets an hour with Jerome Powell.
Scary, man.
And I know what the conversation was.
Hey, man.
Hey, Jerome.
I need you to be head of my risk management division.
How much is government job paying you, dog?
Come on, dog.
Come on, man.
You know it.
Come on, man.
You know I got you.
Look.
You're not trying to play catch with Tom Brady?
You got a friend in me. Okay?
Right, you got a friend in me.
Tom wants to meet you.
I'll be your Woody to your Buzz.
Come to Puerto Rico. Okay? I know you like it, baby. I mean,
what was this girl's name? I always forget her
Carolyn?
name. Carolyn here. She's throwing parties, bro.
Yeah. I know she looks simple. but she's really into Dumbledore, bro.
You know JB knows Dumbledore, too.
What? Harry?
Yeah.
Where's Hermione at?
Yeah, the next flight out.
Yeah, you know they were role-playing. Anyway, whatever. All right. Speaking of which, off topic before we get into the insurance thing, I went to Universal Studios. What a fucking shithole, man.
Shithole?
Who likes that place?
Yeah, I know. I hadn't been there in a long time, too, but did Carter like it?
I mean, we went on 4 rides. Yeah, I mean, I guess it was too hot, way too crowded, way too much alcohol in the park.
Wait, you went, that's all. You also chose to go on a weekend, man.
I did not choose shit. I'm just doing what I'm told.
Yeah.
I work for my wife. Don't get it confused.
Yeah, you're just like, okay, I'm just going to be
She
out
put it on
there.
the calendar. I knew my hours that day.
Right.
Like,
I'm assuming you guys made it to Nintendo World or whatever it's called.
You couldn't bring the strollers inside. It's too small.
Oh.
So
but it looks crazy, though, right?
Well, we went with
what they were able to design.
No, it's impressive. It's very cool, but they fuck you every which way from Friday. You want to tap the boxes and do the power-ups?
Got to buy the watch.
You got to buy the band.
Got to.
$40-something, $48 with tax.
And hold on, I'm not going to let my son and daughter have it and not me. I got to have one too.
No, I didn't get it.
I had to do it.
I didn't get it.
They got to experience it. We got to experience it together.
I didn't get it.
You know what I did?
What?
So stupid. We went there, and for whatever reason, I looked outside that morning. It was cloudy. I decided to wear a hoodie. I got there. It was like 90 degrees.
Bro, same thing with us. It was a cool 70 degrees on the way up there.
Yeah.
I wore all black.
Yeah.
Like a jackass.
Like a jackass.
Right?
And then I have to buy a $50 T-shirt or something crazy. I'm like, what is going on?
Oh, I sweated out. I was like, fuck this shit. I'm losing weight.
Yeah.
I'm like a wrestler right now. My wife's like, do you want water? I'm like, yes. All the waters.
Exactly.
And then I started drinking alcohol. She's like, I thought you weren't drinking. I'm like, that's going to feel better than this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Well, so wait, you guys did that. What else did you guys do? Did you guys do any, was he able to ride on anything else?
So, first of all, they have the express lanes there. They're priced so fucked up.
So I'll be honest, we didn't, I don't want to make you feel bad.
What?
So we went last year, it was like a school day. It was Adam's birthday. And we pulled him out of school that day. We took him, and there was like 5-minute lines.
I believe that.
I didn't have to deal with it. And it was the middle of
Bro,
the week.
it was 2-hour lines for everything. And then check this out. So we hear there's express passes that work for most of the rides, right? But it's $175 to upgrade each ticket. At Disneyland, you can pay to go on like one ride, like $30, or you can get like a magic pad, whatever it is, and go through all. And my wife routinely does that stuff all the time. But it's priced right. Well, there's still crowds in both lines, but it's still definitely shorter, right?
Right.
So it's $225 for unlimited, times 3, on top of our ticket prices, on top of the extortion, right? So we do it, and bro,
still waiting long lines.
There's nobody in those lines because nobody's stupid like us to pay for those things.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But it was so hot and so far towards the end of the day by the time we did it.
Yeah.
That we went on that the studio tour. The coolest thing about the studio tour, because they're on fucking writer strike. Ain't nobody on the lots.
Oh, wow.
Right? So we get there and I'm like, oh, $7 Productions. The door's closed. That's cool.
Cool.
Cool. I mean, so it was an hour. I didn't realize it was an hour-long studio tour.
Oh, I didn't.
About an hour long.
We didn't do that.
So then it's a little later. We didn't go on any of the cool, like, new stuff. Like,
We
Mario
did
Kart had like a 2.5-hour wait, man.
You didn't do that?
2.5-hour wait? Bro.
You went all the way there. You didn't do Mario Kart?
No.
I'm not going to lie. It was pretty sick.
Fuck you.
I'm just joking. No, I mean, you didn't miss much, honestly.
That looks insincere as shit on your face right now, you asshole.
I feel bad.
We didn't do the Harry Potter thing?
Who does Harry Potter, though? You like Harry Potter?
Sam Bankman-Fried does.
You like Harry Potter? Be
What?
honest. You like Harry Potter and you don't like Game of Thrones?
I grew up with the Harry Potter franchise.
Come on, man.
Game of Thrones, I was already a grown-ass man. So were you, which makes you arguably kind of immature.
Immature?
I'm just saying, man, Game of Thrones was basically softcore porn with dragons.
No, man. That was probably the last TV show where, like, as a nation, everyone gathered around and decided to watch
Don't
this shit
make
at
me the
once.
weird human here.
You are the weird
I'm
human.
not. Please, you're watching 16,000 episodes of Scrubs or some shit. What are you watching?
Scrub, hey, that's messed up.
What are you
better.
watching?
It's better than some shit, okay? It's
What
Grey's
shit?
Anatomy. Put some respect on it.
Put some respect on my name. Go. Oh no, you should watch Ted Lasso. You would love Ted Lasso. I don't know what you're doing.
I'm gonna do that after this.
I'll give you that bootleg login.
When I retire in a couple of years.
You got another 16 seasons to go, bro. You good?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's stay on point for a minute because this insurance stuff is impactful.
Yeah.
I've been seeing it all over the office, underwriting multifamily commercial real estate. I've seen it in the single family world. It started with the fires on the West Coast and kind of bled out to the East Coast with the hurricanes and everything else. Ironically, it hasn't been a lot of the earthquake-related stuff in the last couple of decades. Let's knock on some wood here.
Well, I'll say this. I mean, for us in California, you got to get separate earthquake insurance, so it's not.
Yeah, and it's never economically viable in a commercial setting. It's just going to destroy your cash flow because it's just so costly.
Right.
But we could have lived with that, at least on some part. But I'll tell you, with the cost change and the interest that people are paying in the combination, the affordability is just so gone. So this from a Washington Post article. Actually, I'm going to read. I'll read that one first. Fuck it. Washington Post article: Home insurers cut natural disasters from policies as climate risk grows. Okay, and I don't like the idea. So again, I fully acknowledge climate change, and I can say in my lifetime, the temperature, like the things that we're experiencing, are different. Now, do I know that that's because of carbon monoxide and what we're doing as humans to the environment? Or has this been a cyclical pattern over time going back to the dinosaurs where the Earth has had pattern changes?
Right. I know. The one, I don't know either, and I'm not an expert. I don't know enough about this to really talk about it. But when the first thing that comes to mind is when they say, it hasn't been this hot in over 40 years, you're like, well, what was going on 40 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, we all...
I mean, it was better back then, right?
Right?
So It was hot back then, too. So that's the part where it gets a little confusing.
Summertime's like 75 degrees back then?
I don't get it.
Would I still gotten fucked at Universal Studios? Like, I'm just trying to figure out what happened,
100%.
Like in the 20s was like, ooh, it was chilly.
Yeah.
It's a solid 55.
Exactly.
In the aftermath of extreme weather events, major insurers are increasingly no longer offering coverage that homeowners in areas vulnerable to those disasters need most. At least 5 large U.S. property insurers, including Allstate, American Family, Nationwide, Erie Insurance Group, and Berkshire Hathaway. Fucking Buffett.
This guy
pulling out his $8 billion. Now this shit.
This guy, what a baller, dude. So he has the insurance on the back end, and he's selling you the other shit on the front end that makes you need the insurance.
Yeah, he gives you the dirty birdie every time.
Every time.
They have told regulators that extreme weather patterns caused by climate change have led them to stop writing coverages in some regions, excluding protections from various weather events, and raise monthly premiums and deductibles. Major insurers say they will cut out damage caused by hurricanes, wind and hail from policies underwriting property along with coastlines and in wildfire country. I'm just stunned by what's going on here. So no hurricane, no wind, no hail, okay? Property along coastlines, West Coast, East Coast, south of Texas area, and in wildfire country, which is a lot of California, by the way.
Which is a big deal for us, too, out here in California, because we always have had the wind and hail included in this coverage.
Well, in the Midwest, this might be impactful for me, too. According to a voluntary survey conducted by the National Association of Insurance Commissioners, a group of state officials who regulate rates and policy forms. So I've got property in the Midwest. Ironically, none of my insurers have pulled back on wind and hail coverage, but that's how you justify getting property in the Midwest, because if there's a tornado that goes through there. Now, I will say this is interesting because they're not really focused on earthquakes. They're not really focused on tornadoes.
Hurricanes?
They are focused on hurricanes and wildfires.
Right. I don't know how much damage has happened to Florida so far in Hurricane Idalia? Was that the name of it?
The last one?
This last one?
Yeah.
I think it remains to be seen, but I had some stats here from an insurance.
You were talking about Hillary on the West Coast.
Yeah. But the national average for home insurance based on a $250,000 dwelling coverage increased this year by 20%.
Yeah.
It's
not just that, dude. Healthcare is going up too, man.
Bro, hold on. That's the average.
Yeah.
What does that mean? That means there's a high end to that and a low end. What is the high end at?
I know people in the high-end home market who've got like $40, $50 million homes who've literally called me and said, dude, it doesn't matter what I pay. They will not cover me.
Right.
And you're like, well, shit, what are you going to do? I had one guy go, I'll just give you what's my replacement cost new? And I go like, I don't know, like 20 million.
Right.
He goes, I'll just give you 20 million in cash to hold in reserve account. And you're like, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly. So that's something I think worth noting, that these insurance coverages tend to, what do they tend to usually cover? What are you looking for, right? You have a certain amount that covers, the building, right? And you have a certain amount that's allocated to the contents of the home, right? So it's enough that'll cover some damage, even some theft, right?
Yeah.
But what
a lot of insurance fraud goes down in that theft and home coverage policy.
Yeah. But what you're starting to see a lot of now it's not only are people not able to afford the premiums, the new updated premiums that are going up by on average 20%, but insurance companies themselves are so afraid of what inflation has done and what could happen with some of these natural disasters like hurricanes that they're just not even renewing policies.
Yeah, they're just telling you, hey, you're out of luck. Once the policy expires, you're out.
Yeah.
And so I found this interesting too. A buddy of mine was hit really hard in Tampa by the last hurricane that went through in Florida.
Yeah.
And he had just bought his home, first-time home buyer. And it was pretty high. It was like 3-4 feet up in his home, right? And he's like, look, we don't even know if we can rebuild because if the total loss is above 50% of the value of the insurance replacement cost new. So I should point out the value of your home, let's say it's a $500,000 home. The insurance replacement cost new effectively is what would it cost to rebuild this property new? That is the most amount of insurance you're going to get. And that's typically less than the value of the home, particularly in an area where there's a high land value for the home, right? So that being said, they don't know if they're going to rebuild his home, tear it down, what they're going to do right now. But then he started breaking down the other things that are outside of his policy that I never really thought about. He's like, my car was in the garage. My car's not covered.
Ugh.
He's like, I got a golf cart. He's like, I've got all sorts of things in the house that like my couches are gone. TVs, appliances, the ones that were off the wall, high up enough on the wall, they're okay. But all the electrical in the house is gone. So like anything that shorted out is gone. Then he goes, well, where am I going to stay? I have to get a hotel. How long am I going to be in a hotel for? A long-ass time.
Yeah.
It's not like when you have your car damaged, you get like a rental car replacement car. He's like, I'm kind of shit out of luck.
Yeah.
And then he goes, but I still got to pay a mortgage, dude.
Right.
I still borrowed the money.
Yeah, exactly.
So I got to call my lender. Do they put me on hold? Like, what are they doing?
Right.
So he starts like walking through the logistics, and you're just like, shit.
I know. And so, as you know, we know that when you're purchasing a home, your lender requires you to have insurance, right? It's part of it. And if you don't have it, your lender can actually force place the insurance,
which is significantly more expensive than if you were to go out in the market and get in your own.
They're not
lender-based policy, and it doesn't cover you quite the same way that your policy would.
Right.
It covers the lender, not you.
Right. And this was a stat that really blew me away, right? 12% of homeowners in the U.S. don't purchase homeowners insurance.
This is a recurring trend. So a lot of people, who, especially the older crowd, they're rolling the dice. And I was this crazy cavalier. I read a great article. I want to say it was Wall Street Journal this weekend. God, I wish I should have put it in the show notes. About an older gentleman, right, who had decided, he was a former attorney, retired in Los Angeles.
I got this quote from that article.
Oh.
Yeah. Keep going. No, keep going.
Retired in Los Angeles, paid off his mortgage. First thing he did, stopped paying for insurance. He's like, fuck it, I'm rolling the dice.
And he claims to have saved over like $50,000, right?
And he knows that if something happens, it's catastrophic. He probably can't afford the same home, but he has enough that he saved from that in his savings to get like a nice condo or something like that. And that's the trade-off that he's making from a risk perspective.
But that risk perspective is crazy because what you're not, taking into account, first of all, not a lot of people have the luxury to have their home paid off. Number one.
I mean, they live in like a palazzo like you. I mean, you got upkeep.
No,
what's your lawn bill every single month?
$70.
Wow. See, I don't even have a lawn.
No, that's really cheap.
That's a lot more lawn than I got.
I hear what a lot of my neighbors are paying. I'm like, God damn, y'all need to get on my gardener. He's awesome. But no, what a lot of people don't factor in when they think about rolling the dice like that is, first of all, your lender's going to force place insurance, so it's going to cost you way more, right? And the other thing is, if something catastrophic does happen to the home, and let's say goes to shambles, you're still required to get rid of all that debris.
Oh yeah.
So you're going to have to pay for that.
Yeah, and it's usually cutting up the drywall up to where the water level is.
Yeah.
Pulling out the insulation, pulling out all the water damage stuff, ripping out the flooring.
Right.
And then you got to see foundational issues, cracks. all sorts of stuff. I mean, it is not an easy fix. And then there's the mold and the fungal like issues.
I would not recommend doing what this gentleman did. This is how he saved money. But it's getting to the point where some people they're left with no option, right? To move in this direction.
Yeah, it's a incredibly tragic thing. I was talking to this guy, and I felt my heart went out for him because he's got a daughter who's young.
Right, and this the damages with some of these hurricanes. So I got some figures here for the two largest hurricanes that we've seen. Right, if you remember in 2005, Hurricane Katrina, that costed approximately $186 billion in damages.
186 billion.
186.
Wow.
In 2017, Hurricane Harvey, $148 billion. Look, all I'm saying with that is that could happen. It happened twice in the last 20 years. So it could happen again.
No, it can, and it's certainly impactful. So when Haroon's back and editing the show, or you're probably going to edit this one, sucks even more for you.
Yeah.
The article from the Wall Street Journal, are we ready for a $100 billion catastrophe? Or how about a $200 billion catastrophe? What you're referencing here. There's two charts that we should show. The first chart, global insured losses from natural disasters. There's obviously massive, whatever, natural disasters in 2005, in, I want to say 2011. There's another big one just in between 15 and 20. I think it was 2018-ish.
Yes.
And then everything after that has been way above the 21st century average.
Right.
So the insurance companies are seeing a lot more natural disasters. They are real.
Yeah.
And when you go to the next chart, which is the number of billion-dollar insured loss events worldwide. So this is not just natural disasters. This is just insured loss events.
Yes.
Right? This is visibly moving up over year, and it has the same peaks and valleys you would normally expect. But if you were to draw this as a line, it's going like almost 45 degrees up. So the insurance companies are, in fact, paying out a lot more.
Exactly.
Now, I would argue this is what we have insurance for. It sucks for you. You know, you shouldn't say we're not going to insure you. You should keep your premiums in line with that because you're still making money. I bet you if you went to every single one of those insurers, including Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway, they're still profitable, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it remains to be seen what's going to happen. This is a real problem that I think, if I'm being honest, that Congress is going to have to get involved in.
Because you got faith in Congress?
No, I don't. I'm just saying that this is something that should be on their table and they should be discussing because this is just one catastrophe away from, I mean, millions of people would be thrown into poverty overnight.
Yes, that's dark.
It is what it is. So I know that's kind of dark. Let's sprinkle a little bit of positivity after that.
I mean, it's going to be hard to outdo the darkness. Did you want to like poop or something, or
No.
just throw it at me or something? I mean,
no, we're not that big yet. We're not like Rogan where we could be like, hold on, I gotta take a pee break.
Yeah, he's like, I gotta hit the head.
Yeah,
he just dips out.
And he knows that y'all gonna still be here when I get back.
You know how much production value we provide you guys. Exactly. You don't hear like burps and farts, and we do a lot of that on the show.
You don't even know.
You don't even. Yeah,
he's doing it right now.
Generally, yes. If you see one of us making a weird face, that's because we're farting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's he doing?
Mid-show.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we cut it out later on in post.
They'll never know.
Although I don't do as much audio editing at all for the video version. The video version is almost raw. That you're getting that's almost 100%.
So you should go over to the YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, ring that notification bell, smash it, hook up with it. What do we say?
I don't know. Have an affair with it. Fuck it.
Just go. Yeah. Treat it like your mistress. Go over
Somebody should get some action over there.
There.
But the audio there is pretty much raw, straight from the mics, whereas the audio on the streaming platforms, where I try to think about the experience of only hearing it, you're only getting one stimulus. We try to give it to you that way. All right. So I read an article, thought it was important to share. It's from CNBC. Okay. Title is, Americans say these three things define wealth. None of them require making a lot of money. So, and as I've gotten older, slightly more wiser, or less stupid as I like to call it, I can say that I think some of these things are absolutely in line with where I found a lot of my happiness to come from.
Okay.
More money can make some of those things more attainable. But it goes to show you that you can live a wealthy lifestyle without having a wealthy person's net worth. Anecdotally, That would be about $2.2 million, the survey found, to be wealthy.
Wealthy.
Yeah.
As in a salary or as in how much you have in the bank?
No, your total net worth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if you have $2.2 million, this survey thinks that you are wealthy. Why that number? I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
It's kind of weird. Number 1, enjoying experiences over owning nice things.
Yeah.
Would you rather explore a new city with your family or drive an expensive car?
Explore a new city with my family.
Okay.
100%.
Wealthy means enjoying experiences more than owning nice things, according to 70% of Americans. Schwab, who put the study on, found. Number 2. You ready?
Yep.
Not having to stress about money over having more money than people you know. Not having to worry about making more money to keep up with the Joneses.
Well, yeah. And what's the best way you can do that is become a financially literate.
Listen to the Higher Standard podcast.
Don't stop listening.
Yeah.
We'll get you there.
Keep it going.
Keep it going.
I did that whole, oh, yeah, thing in front of my son. And then he started saying it back.
You may have to provide a little bit of context here. You just, what do you mean? I did the oh yeah thing.
Oh, yeah?
They're gonna think you did the oh yeah.
No. So I said that as like my son asked me a question. I was like, oh yeah, and then he.
I feel like that's a little bit inappropriate, dude.
And then he responded back with that same sound. It's just a sound, bro. Don't take it.
There's this guy on what social media platform is it? Instagram?
I don't know. Whatever.
He goes around. He just asks people, "Give me an oh yeah."
Oh yeah. No, but it's got roots deeper than that. I don't know where the true source is, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I just know that it sounds funny. And then my little son, who's 4 years old, started walking around the house saying it for an entire day. And I looked at my wife and said, "We have to be real fucking careful what we say in front of this kid moving forward."
Yeah.
The other day, he looked at my wife and goes, why are you being an asshole?
Oh, that's straight from your mouth.
He looked at me like it's my fault.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, you call me the asshole.
Yeah.
I don't call you the asshole. I call you a bitch, obviously.
Yeah. So we routinely at the house, so we do a pretty good job of not cursing in front of the kids, but our go-to is what the, and we cut ourselves off right there. Okay, so it's a real problem though when Adam's out and about going, what the, and it's just like, people think this kid just talks like this, but he's just restraining himself right now in the moment.
He's like, I'm going to get slapped.
Yeah.
All right. Certain displays of wealth, like lavish weddings on Instagram or luxury buildings in your city, can make you feel envious or competitive about money. But 70% of Americans say that having enough to ease any money stress in their life is more meaningful than having more money than their peers.
Yeah, I hope this the whole wedding thing that goes away for the masses anyways. I know for a certain portion of the population it's a really big deal, and if it means a lot to you, go ahead and do it. I mean, we did it. We didn't spend as much as other people that we know, but the advice that I give to Haroon, I said, man, it's only 6 hours. It's 6 hours. Take that money, go invest it in a house, and throw a party at your house. You'll have so much more fun that way.
At the fear of not being honest, but yet not getting in trouble, I will say my brother had a week-long bachelor party in Mexico, and he's doing a week-long wedding in Kauai.
A week-long bachelor party?
Yeah, they were 5 days. Yeah,
wow.
About 5 days. They were in Mexico for 5 days, and then they came back, and then at the end of this month, we'll be in Kauai for his wedding for 5 days. And, yeah.
And look, I get it. I'm not knocking it. I get the draw. I mean, it's a
lot, man.
It's a big, important milestone in your life, and you want to make sure that you feel like you celebrated it and whatnot. But if you can find a way to be financially responsible too, you'll thank yourself a whole lot later.
True story. My wife and I got married at courthouse steps.
I remember. I wasn't invited.
You were not. Oh, yeah. Number 3.
Wait, pause for the awkwardness, please.
Number 3, having a healthy work-life balance over maximizing your earnings. In a perfect world, you might have a job that pays well and gives you a good work-life balance. I take a little bit of argument with this one. Picking between the two, though, 69% of Americans say a healthy work-life balance would mean more to them than maximizing their earnings when it comes to defining wealth.
Okay, I gotta hear what's the problem with this, because I tend to agree with this.
I know you do, and I think that most people would, in theory. But I would say you've been conditioned to believe that.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm.
Alex Hormozy is a great example of, like, he works until he's tired. Doesn't have kids. I get that.
That's the part that I lean on.
Mr. Beast works until he's exhausted, takes a couple days off. He loves his job. Doesn't have kids.
Mm-hmm.
However, most of these successful entrepreneurs that I know, like the uber, like elite successful, have a little bit of that in them. They don't openly or aren't braggadocious like that about it. They don't talk about it like that, but they generally don't have a lot of hobbies. I'm always like hesitant to people like the Ryan Pinedas of the world who are like, oh, you can golf with me. I golf a lot. And it's like, if you're really running companies, like that's your hobby. Like your hobby is running the company.
Oh, you would hope that you're doing something that you love. Not a lot of people are blessed with that, though, man.
And I recognize this, but here's what I'll tell you. Since we were kids, we have been conditioned to be a good employee.
Yes.
And there's a very tangible, palpable difference between having an employee mindset and having a entrepreneur business owner mindset. The business owner says, I'm going to be available. I'm going to get work done. I'm going to find a way. The employee says, I want to be done at 5 o'clock because I have to go home and be with my kids.
That is true, and I get that. But here's what I'll say. What I'll say to that. Okay, if your goal is to grow this business into a successful business, yes, that is the way to get it there. Okay, if that is the number one thing you want. So I'll never forget. Casey made a video about this.
Neistat.
Casey Neistat, and he said, I can lay down the blueprint for you to become the next me. And I'll tell you what you need to do every hour of the day.
99% of people aren't going to do it.
They're not going to do it. But look, what he said is, I can guarantee you'll get to the other side. You'll become famous. You'll make money off this. But here's the one thing I can't guarantee: your happiness.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you're going to be happy.
He's gone through unhappy times in his life doing it.
A lot. He mentioned it. He said there'd be times I'd come home and I'd be having a conversation with his wife, Candace, and he said that I'd be thinking, she's talking to me about something very important, but my mind was on the content that I'm making. Like, she's keeping me from recording this, time lapse of the sunset right now. And
I'm not going to lie, I honestly do the same thing sometimes with my wife, and I feel terrible about it. I try to not do it cognitively,
mm-hmm.
but I've got people always say, like, Chris, you got all these things going on, blah, blah, blah. Like, how do you manage it? Dude, I don't sometimes.
That's the thing, right? It's like it's hard to manage, and we're humans. But the part that I think about when I think about work-life balance is, man, even someone like me who I take great pride in stopping to cherish each moment that I can with the kids. And I look back, like my mother-in-law right now, as I was driving over to the podcast tonight, sent me a video of her feeding the kids like a bottle, right?
Mm.
And talking. And I even remember the video she sent me, right? When it happened in real time. And I feel like I still don't feel like I cherished it enough. And it, like, for some reason, I have a really hard time. I can't look back at old photos of the kids. It, like, I don't know. To me, it's depressing.
Why?
I don't know, man. It's like, it feels like it never feels like I gave them enough, even though I know I did. I know I stayed up late hours, or I did everything I could to be there, or I know that what I'm doing, I'm working hard on this thing over here to provide, right? But you hear those stories about those kids that say, yeah, dad was out there working and he was providing and this and that, but he wasn't there for me. I never want that.
Yeah, I don't either. But at the same time, there's got to be a happy medium. I don't believe that being a father, being a husband, means you got to sacrifice being you.
100% agree.
And if that means going to the gym and chasing a business passionately,
mm-hmm.
then you got to find a fucking way to do that too.
You got to be able to you got to find a way to do it all. And there is a lesson to be learned there. Look, dad wants to spend as much time with you as possible too, but I also have to do this, and these are responsibilities, and this is something that I signed up for, there's goals that we want to reach and hit. And there's a lesson to be learned there as well, so long as you can find that work-life balance.
So here's the way I'll cap it, right? I think a lot of people, what they're really chasing when they look at some of these entrepreneurs is they're chasing a retired entrepreneur's life, not a working entrepreneur's life.
Yeah.
The people that sell you on social media are selling you on the retired successful guy's life, but they look like they're in their 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you the common theme that I see with most successful, hyper-successful, real entrepreneurs, not the bullshit you see on social media.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to stop working.
Right.
They don't want to go golfing with you. They don't want to not do that. That's why most of these guys die, and women die when they stop working.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing what keeps them alive because they're passionate about the work.
They're curious about it, right?
And don't get me wrong, they have friends, but the circle is very limited because they don't have time to be a good friend.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have these things. And I get it. The older and older I get and the more experience I get, the more I start to figure out that maybe it's not such a bad thing, all the things that have brought me to where I'm at in my life as far as friendships and people around me go. Because, look, I look at what I'm unable to do. Mm-hmm. But anyway, that was supposed to be a positive ending, but Saied took it to a very dark place.
What,
Fucked
me?
up. Yeah,
No, you, bro.
Very dark.
You're saying don't have friends and work yourself to the grave.
No. I'm saying if you love what you do, you're going to do that anyway.
Yeah, you should. Well, you should do it anyway.
You're going to want to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you don't,
so that'll still feel it'll still feel like there's a balance there. So long as you love what you're doing.
You know your boy Tim Chiusano left his job today?
I did not. That's your hold on. Yeah. I said 2 words to him. That's your boy.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
Why did he leave his job?
I don't know. He hasn't told anybody.
He handles like a lot of the ad stuff in between TV shows, right? What if ad revenues are coming down? No.
I think he built like a 100-person team. It was pretty big. And
no, he's a big deal.
I think he's transitioning to. My guess, he's transitioning to creator.
I mean, he's good at it.
He's very good at it. Yeah. Can you imagine if he had more time to do it?
I would love to have him on the show.
Again?
Run it back. Come on, Tim.
I would ask him, but
Let me ask him.
He wouldn't know who you are, bro. Go ahead. He actually responds to everybody. You could probably DM him.
Yeah.
And he'd probably respond.
Really, really good dude.
Yeah, he is a good sweetheart.
All right.
Such a sweetie.
Haroon, you got anything else?
No?
No? All right, cool.
You know what? Hey, good news. There will be no eating chips and no billy goat sounds.
Oh, yeah. So the audio portion of this should take you 5 minutes.
Yeah, it should be no problem. Boom, 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 boom. Done. Yeah.
There you go.
All right, you want to hit him with an, oh, yeah?
No, I do not. Good night, everybody.
Bye.